Shall we continue on our mission to see things from a different angle? We have Tyler coming up. Tyler, you join me. Yeah. Get all the people out of the way and join in. We're heading into the world of recruitment, tech recruitment.
Yes. Can you all
recruitment
hear me?
of younger people.
Yeah.
And you moved from Estonia to Malta.
Yeah.
During the time that we were actually planning.
Yeah.
Now you're with Graziella at Enteractive.
With all the guys. So.
Very much welcome to the stage.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
I'm anxiously, as I told you, scared about this and your foul mouth, but
you'll enjoy it. You'll all enjoy it.
This will be amazing.
I do need a clicker though, if someone's got one.
I'll get you a clicker.
Yeah, you get me a clicker.
Good.
All right. Cool. I'll wait for my clicker first, and then we'll get started. Okay. Yeah.
I'd give a chance for other people.
All right. Where is it? Do I have one? Sweet.
Good.
All right, cool. So we shall get started. So my name is Tyler Bronson. I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager at Enteractive. We do everything from reactivation to retention of iGaming players. So if you're an iGaming operator or anything like that, and you want your customers to spend a little bit more money, then you can get in touch with me straight after this presentation as well. I'll lead you to the B2B team. So we're going to talk about from swipe right to stay forever. Now, you might know without this, throughout it, you will see kind of like a theme about dating. I'll cross it in a little bit. So today's agenda is going to be a quick introduction to myself, what I've done with my career, and so on. Second is a little bit of a disclaimer. I'll talk you through it once we get there. Then we'll talk about talent attraction, talent acquisition. In the middle of that, onboarding, retention. And then at the end, I will give my legs a little bit of a rest. I will sit down, and you can ask me as many questions as possible. And then I will be as brutally honest as possible as well. Okay. So, introduction about me then. So, fun story. This little guy in 2014 was me once upon a time. I used to work in the music industry. So, I worked as a stage manager, tour manager, all that usual stuff. Very creative, very fluffy, really cool. And then at the same time, I was working at an infamous fast food restaurant, one with a big M. You probably know which one. Flipping those awesome burgers and working in this music industry. Until one night, I hated it and I quit. I quit it, I hated it, I didn't want to do it anymore. So, what did I do? So, I spent a year doing what most British people do when they have no idea what to do, and that is, I went traveling around Europe and got really drunk in the meantime. So, as I was doing that, I came across a recruiter, and he was like, oh, you should do this, like, you're really good at it. So I was like, fuck it, okay, I'll do it. And then I kind of fell into it, as most people do. So that's a little bit of introduction about me. So this is the disclaimer. You can read it, or I can read it out to you. So this is completely based off my experience. You may agree or disagree with my statements. You might not get the answer that you want, but possibly the answer that you need. I am not legally liable, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So if you try this, I've read it. This is the disclaimer. Okay. So let's talk about dating. Dating's fun, right? COVID has kind of ruined it. So I will get a bit of interaction with you. Who has been on a date this year? Oh, Jesus, you're all single and lonely? Come on. One date, right? Okay. Who's been on 2 dates this year? Jesus, what's wrong with you? All married or something? Right, okay. Who's been on 3 dates this year? Surely, come on. Okay, so the reason why I'm asking that, and the reason why I'm still continuing to put my hand up, is how many of you, last question, have been on a date, 4th date or 3rd date, and moved in with them? I've done it. Crazy, right? You're a lunatic. The reason why I'm asking that is, and the reason why I'm still putting my hand up, is if you think about recruitment, this is exactly what we're doing. We're asking for the first interview, second interview, third interview, and then you move in with them as a business. What the fuck? This is crazy. So the reason why I want to talk about how to interview correctly is exactly that. You have your first date, you have your second date, you have your first date, then it's an offer to come and live with you and stay with you for a while. Also, it's not a dating app pitch. Yes, I know I look 40 and 20 at the same time, and why we're talking about dating. It'll all make sense in the future. So, let's begin. Are you ready? Yeah? Geez, come on, okay, right. Okay, so how to attract Gen Z talent. So in short, the answer is not TikTok dancers, unlimited personal time off, ping pong tables. It's actually a lot more simpler than that. But before we get into it, Gen Z, what are they? So as you may have seen on the website, I'm a borderline Gen Z millennial. If I was born a year later, I would be Gen Z. If I was born exactly where I am, I'm a millennial. So I'm kind of in that limbo of knowing what TikTok is, but then knowing what MySpace is as well. So it's kind of the mix, right? Well, it's actually not some kind of COVID-19 variant. It's actually a little bit more contagious, dangerous, and viral. Businesses want them, they need them, but they don't know how to attract, onboard, or retain them. So I'll teach you how to do it for free. Amazing. All right, so the life cycle secret. Now, this is what I've done for many businesses. So beforehand, I worked in a very, very small business in Estonia. And if you know anything, is there any Estonians in, by the way? The Estonians don't move anywhere. Okay. And I moved a lot of people from the warm culture spot of Malta to Estonia, which you might think, Tyler, what the fuck are you doing with their mental health? You know, it makes sense. So, and the reason why I did it so well is this life cycle, this secret formula, the Krabby Patty stuff that I'm going to talk to you about today. And that is everything that you see on here. So I'll break it down for you. This is just a guideline. You don't have to use it all, but it is advised. But of course, I'm going to say that because I made it. Okay, so talent attraction. So I've split these into 4 pillars. So we have attraction, acquisition, onboarding, and retention. So a lot of businesses that I've seen when I've done kind of consulting meetings and stuff, they get the acquisition part really well. And some of them may have employee branding, so they get the attraction part done. But when it comes to onboarding, when it comes to retention, not so much. So I'll talk you through it. So attraction is everything from employee branding, referrals, LinkedIn marketing, culture checks, recruitment marketing. And this is kind of like step by step. And at the end, I've put a TA review because you need to constantly review what you're working on. Because if you don't, then you get stuck into old patterns. So talent attraction, you have a TA review. Then second one is everything for acquisition. I'll go into a little bit more detail later, but I promise it will all make sense. You have headhunting. Now, I've put R and HM at the same time. Now, as recruiters, it's our job to headhunt. It is what it is. You know, we get paid to do it. We might get bonuses to do it. This is our job. But what makes sense, really, is getting the hiring manager to join with the headhunting. So if you're doing the shortlist, if you're doing a pipeline or something like that, then you will actually know once the hiring manager joins with you and they kind of navigate through the certain profiles, you'll kind of make sense of what they're looking for. Because every hiring manager in the world, I'm seeing a few of them, I can smell you out, you can actually see that they ask for a unicorn, which is, you know, this thing that doesn't exist. So how do you break it down? Well, you sit on a recruitment LinkedIn profile, you type in all the keywords that they're looking for, lo and behold, there's 2 people. One is in Malaysia and one is in the US. Are they going to relocate to Malta? Maybe, I don't know. So then you narrow down that search. Well, what happens if we take away that little bit and we take away that guaranteed experience, or we take away that need for a university degree? Then all of a sudden, that pipeline of 2 becomes a pipeline of 5,000. Then interview practice. So, you know, it's our job to sell the business, you know, do all the jazz hand stuff, right? But, you know, it's up to the hiring manager to kind of continue that. Because the worst thing in the world is, you know, you get a recruiter who's so engaging and so, you know, extroverted and happy. And then all of a sudden the hiring manager, and this is normally from software developers, no offense, sorry, and they're just interviewing, they're like, well, tell me about your React experience. And, you know, can you tell me about this? Oh, okay, show me some code. It's fucking boring, you know? And a lot of these people, they get so excited about that beginning part, which is the attraction, then they slowly drop off and they get bored of it. You know, software developers, believe it or not, have a personality. Who would have thought? Okay, so interview handbook. This is something that I'm doing right now, and I'm slowly not looking at my HR manager because she's been asking for it for quite some time. But it's an interview handbook. So this goes directly into the interview practice. You can use that as a benchmark for teaching your hiring managers. Dedicated feedback. This really pisses me off in the industry, and I will say this from my end. I've done it before. Is not give candidates who you've interviewed dedicated feedback. It's awful. I think it's a recruitment practice that needs to change, and I'm slowly doing better to better myself with that. But I'll talk to you about it later. Training for non-managers as well. You know, if you were here for the first part with all the different personality types and stuff like that, you will actually see that training for non-managers, their growth, their internal growth is absolutely important as well. Because once they do become managers, they're not like, fuck, how do I do a screening call? Or, you know, what do I do with this ATS? And, you know, what is Bamboo HR and why is it terrible? You know, stuff like that, right? And then, of course, TA review at the end. Then I'll talk to you about talent onboarding. So contracts, catch up with the manager. Then you have a TA catch up. I like to meet all my candidates, if possible, face to face for a coffee or a cigarette or something like that. Then catch up with their teams as well. And before the penultimate one, which is personalized onboarding, you know, this is something which I've started to do right now, which is ask people how they want to be onboarded. Now, if I ask that question to you, what is your immediate answer? I don't know. Like, what do you mean personalized onboarding? Well, it's quite simple. So what I do is I tend to give people two options. And I say, well, when I hired such and such in your team, they asked for this. And that personalized onboarding could be, I want to meet with this person. I want to do this. I want to do this. 9 times out of 10, they will say, I don't know. So it's up to you to guide them. And the reason why I ask for personalized onboarding is you kind of connect at that first 2 weeks, that first month, because that's like danger zone, right? You start a new business and you get confused and you don't know who is who, you don't know who to go to, and you panic and you're like, oh fuck, should I have accepted that counter offer and stayed with my business? You know, stuff like that, right? So you kind of nip it in the bud with that personalized onboarding. Then of course, onboarding review. Then retention. Let's talk about retention. Retention's fun. Internal applications, so people who want to grow with the business, that's also very important. You need to take into consideration that. Employee satisfaction surveys. I'll be honest, 60% of your guys will probably not fill them out until it's absolutely told to do so. Just is what it is for HR. Dedicated reviews and exit interviews. And then, of course, that's meant to be TA review, but I put TR review. I don't know why. Maybe it's TA and HR put together. I don't know. Okay. So, talent attraction, let's talk about it. So this is all about attracting the talent. If you read in the bottom right, you'll see, how do you attract your future husband or wife? I'm being serious when I ask this. How do you do it, right? So this is all about attracting talent. So build your recruitment strategy around who you want to hire and not just a generalized strategy. So a lot of TA makes a lot of mistake of, here's the overall strategy, here's what we want to do, but then you need to segment it per business unit. So for example, if you're looking for developers, your TA strategy and EB strategy should be a little bit different from your sales agents, from your marketing, from generic HR as well. So tailor make your overarching TA strategy and then kind of, you know, separate it to the business units. Unless you use Bamboo HR as your ATS, you probably have a good one. So use it for email marketing. I like Bamboo HR. In fact, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't like it. So apologies if you work for them, but you know, they need to fix a couple of things. So email marketing. So this is what I do, and I've had great success of hiring people who I have previously rejected. You know, how amazing is that? I've hired someone, given them dedicated feedback, and they come back because they're engaged, they've got dedicated feedback, they've received an email marketing from, I don't know, Team Taylor is what I use, it's awesome, you should get it. And we use email marketing to attract those future candidates, and candidates who have applied maybe a year or 2 years ago, and they've come back because they had such a good experience. So that's a really good example. So again, that question, how do you attract your future husband or wife? How do you do it? Next part, talent acquisition. So this is acquiring the talent. So ensuring interview steps are seamless. You know, none of this BS of 7-stage interviews. Any business that does that in the modern day, there's a door, you know, leave. So ensuring that these are seamless, and this includes the hiring manager training as well. If you think about it, you know, an average interview stage is probably one with the TA or HR, one with the hiring manager, maybe a technical assessment or something like that. Then they think about progressing to an offer. But so is everyone else. Everyone else is doing that as well. So you need to be quick when it comes to recruitment, because otherwise they'll speak to me and I will steal them away from you. Sorry. Okay, so interviews aligned, but be flexible. So you might have like a structure when it comes to your interviews, but you need to be flexible with it. Make it a conversation, not an interrogation. You know, this is a quote which I saw on LinkedIn and I stole it, and I won't tell you who it's from. Okay, so bin the scorecards, get rid of them. It's terrible because you're putting people in boxes. You know, this personality needs to be met, or psychometric tests. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I post a lot about psychometric tests being bullshit. I think that they are. Sorry if that you use them. But we put people in boxes. And if one person has this psychometric personality, they generally hire people the same. And they don't have the training of that. So please don't use psychometric tests. It's really bad for D&I. It's really bad for anything like that. You won't hire someone who will challenge the business. You'll just hire a clone of that existing person, allegedly. You know, everything is from my opinion. You can disagree. Another one is allow managers to be themselves. Kind of. I know some of you are laughing and thinking, oh, fuck, that sales manager is an alcoholic, or, you know, what's this? Yeah, kind of allow them to be themselves. That's great, but kind of coach them in the right way. Just push them in the right direction, just a little bit. You know, don't push them, just kind of do like a small tap in the right direction, but allow them to be themselves, because if you don't have that personalized recruitment process, you might as well just have an old-style Vodafone video interview, like in the late 2000s, if anyone had to do that? No, okay. Okay, so how do you get them with you? How do you get your partner with you? You know, this nice couple here based in Tunisia, I think. I don't know, I'm making it up. So, yeah, how do you get them with you? And I promise it'll make sense at the end. Talent onboarding, that same question. How do you get them to move in with you? Again, it's still not a dating app pitch. So talent onboarding. So moving jobs is one thing, really fucking scary. Moving countries for a job, whole different ballgame. And I say this, I've done this 4 times in my life. It's stressful every time. But luckily, Enteractive made it a little bit easier for me, which is nice. Okay, so you need to tailor-make your talent onboarding. Again, this goes back to the question of asking them how they want to be onboarded. So this could be, it might be lunch with a certain person. It might be, actually, I know I'm a data analyst, and I appreciate what you want to do for me, but I need to speak to the sales team because I'll be working with them. You know, as a HR team, we kind of oversee it, that you meet your manager, you meet your team, and then maybe you'll float around and meet other people. Ask them who they need to meet for them to work as efficiently as possible. So some people are introverted, some people are extroverted, but we can't make assumptions. So ask them. Ask them how they want to be onboarded. It's really simple. Like I said before, 9 times out of 10, they'll probably go, I don't know. So give them options. Give them 3 options. They'll probably choose 1 out of the 3. Okay? And the next one, retention. So how do you get them, how do you stop them from running up the hills, realize that you're not the perfect person, you snore in your sleep, you leave the toilet seat up, you think their cooking is bad, and you hate their parents? How do you retain talent, okay? So let's talk about retaining talent. Once you've got them in the business, we need to talk about how you keep them. How do you retain people, right? So the best way to do that is have an honest conversation with them at the beginning. You know, see what their career journey is, see what they want to do from their career, etc., etc. And what do we need to do to keep them in the business and keep checking up on them? Because the reason why we need to keep checking up on them, and it's not just monthly one-to-ones, it's just grabbing a coffee with them and being as honest as possible, like, what are your career goals? Because believe it or not, Gen Z and millennials, we're kind of like deers in headlights. We're like, we don't know what to do. We're like, we want to go over here, we want to do that, right? So career goals may change. So we need to ask as much as possible what is going to happen within their career, because at any time it could change. So we need to keep asking them and keep up with them. They're young, after all, and I'm borderline both. So I have both experiences. All right. So finding tech talents, you have more chance of winning the lottery than finding a unicorn. I'm being absolutely serious here. Also, PS at the top, the next slide may or may not be true. I'm not legally, I'm legally meant to say that, I think. Okay, cool. So, sneaky ways to find people, really sneaky ways. Of course, LinkedIn is the first one. So LinkedIn searches are always good to find talent, but let's be honest here. Have you ever sat down with a developer and talked about LinkedIn with them? For them, it sucks, because they're inundated with recruiters sending them messages about roles which are not relevant. I had it as well. Someone wanted to recruit a restaurant manager, because 7 years ago I had a shift manager at McDonald's, and I was like, bro, read my LinkedIn, come on. GitHub. So GitHub is the safe haven for techies everywhere. GitHub is, so LinkedIn is kind of like for salespeople and HR and recruiters, and then developers don't like it, and they don't like any of those guys, so they hang around on GitHub. So the safe haven of tech is everywhere. Recruiters are not present there. They can talk freely and share about ideas and how they copy and paste the best, because that's what developers do, right? Amazing. And this is until I come along, okay? So, Reddit. I'm going to talk to you about Reddit. Reddit is kind of like a cesspool for some really nasty stuff. But this is what I've done, or may have done, which is I've hired a data ops engineer in Estonia by pretending to be a data ops engineer. How did I do it? I created a profile on GitHub and Reddit and started joining all these different communities, asking questions, learning about data ops to become the most efficient recruiter in the world. Because if I ask questions, and if I'm trying to gauge someone's experience about a topic that I don't know, I can't sell that topic. So I started learning how to become a data ops engineer. I could probably make more money doing that than doing recruitment, but it is what it is, and I like recruitment. Okay, so events. So when you go to their events, which are like data engineering conferences, stuff like that, do you introduce yourself as a recruiter? Open question. Do you like, hey, I'm such and such from such and such business. Do you do it? I'm guessing there's some of you. Yeah, you do it. You do it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Don't do it. And the reason why is because a lot of recruiters are copy and pasting the same message and in mails to all these amazing techies. As soon as they see a recruiter, they run. They're just like, I don't want to talk about it. So normally what I would do is I say that I'm a business analyst. Yeah, business analyst, yeah. I've hired a few of them, and they're very similar personality to me, which is they talk a lot of shit. So it's like, it's the role for me, right? So I don't do that because I'm actually genuinely interested in the technology. When I was looking for DevOps people and data ops people, data ops is like a new term right now, a new sexy term. I wanted to study it, and I wanted to study exactly what these guys talk about. So I'll say that I'm a business analyst, which is like very broad, or I could say that I'm a project manager or something, very broad, doesn't really go into detail. And then I ask questions about it. Oh, what do you think to this update? Or what do you prefer, like AWS, GCP, or Azure? If you use Azure, then you're terrible. But, stuff like that. And I ask questions about it. And then I say, oh, look, there's this business that's hiring this role. I think I might go for it, but I'm not sure. And then you send them the job ad. And then they apply. And then they have that first screening interview, preferably not with me, but with the rest of the team. And then they get onboarded, and it's their first day. And it's like that Spider-Man meme, like, what? What are you doing? So I speak to them about it, hook, line, and sinker. And the reason why is it goes back to that comment of recruiters. A lot of people are scared of recruiters. I'm scared of recruiters. I see a couple of you now, and I'm like, I just want to run away. So that's the reason why I go to events as well. Events like this is amazing because it's like broad, and you get to meet different people. But go to events that these guys go to. Don't go to HR. Okay, well, you can go to HR conferences like this, of course, but if you're looking just purely to hire people, go to those specific events. Go to data events, go to engineering events, stuff like that. And don't mention you're a recruiter, otherwise they'll be like, nice, and they'll just walk away. All right, old candidates. How often do you talk to them? So I touched on this earlier, which is about email marketing and speaking to your old candidates and what you can do with them. And the reason why I want to make this absolutely abundant and clear is that a recruiter's life cycle, as soon as a candidate is not relevant, then they're out of the brain, they don't want to speak to them, they don't want to see their CV anymore. I don't do that. I keep in touch with them. And you might think, okay, Tyler, how do you do that on LinkedIn? How do you do that every day? It must be like, an 80-hour job. The answer is automation, and I'll get back to you in a minute about that. So old candidates, how often do you talk to them? So old candidates, old news. So some of the biggest successes in hires I have made are actually people who I just kept in contact with on LinkedIn and reached out to them. I've put him, which is not very gender ambiguous, so apologies, every so often. And I do this with automated messages. So if someone who has applied for a developer role and they're not right for the role, it's not that answer. Someone's phone's ringing. It's not that answer. The answer is they're not right now, but they will be. So what I do is a very sneaky way is if they have applied for the role and not right for it right now, I'll forward them to other positions and say, hey, look, go work for them, then I'll try and steal you back in a year. How's that? And then they go, they get their experience, then next time that they come round, they're perfect for the role because they're already engaged with the brand and me as well. So I tend to do this via LinkedIn because it's a bit more personal than sending out just a mail shot through your ATS, but email marketing does work through Team Tailor and your applicant tracking system. All right, second one. Most of you are in iGaming. So some of you might have a CRM department, and some may have email marketing. So use it. Use your CRM guys and be like, hey, I want to do this with this data set. I want to send these mail shots. How do I do it, and how do I get them engaged? So as recruiters, you should be doing email marketing for candidates to keep them engaged. And I've put a question there. It's like, but Tyler, I don't have time to do that. Well, if you think about it, a lot of it can be automated. Now, an average CRM campaign, as some of you may know more than me, sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does. And I've had many key successes when I was working in Estonia about that. People who have been old candidates, I've sent an email marketing campaign saying, hey, we have this role, I think you're right for it. And then they've applied because they've had 2 years experience elsewhere, and then we've made an offer to them. So that's really good. So easy way to do it. Open LinkedIn Recruiter, pipeline all the candidates into 3 pillars. Applied, interested, good to steal. And send tailored messages out to them every so often. So it could be you have React developers, let's say, and you have a pipeline of applied, interested, and good steal, and then you send them relevant content about React updates. I have signed up to so many newsletters about different tech stacks. So as soon as I get a little bit of information that there's an update, I kind of use that as a talking point to these candidates, for example. It's really good. And I've had great success doing it. And it's really easy. You can just automate it. Okay, so what do I send them? If they're a React developer, yeah, something about a React update and ask their opinion on it. If they're marketing, I would share news with tech, or just a simple, hi friend, how's things? Something like that. They might not reply to you, that's fine, but just keep at it and keep talking to them. I've put a too long didn't read there. I should have mentioned that. The answer is no. Okay. So once you've got them hooked, what happens now? How the fuck do you interview them? Okay, we're going to talk about that. So first of all is the preliminary call, which is all about the TA screening. So tell them about the business and the cool things that you do. Most recruiters should have this 2-minute speech about exactly what the business does. So speak to them about it. So I can speak pretty much all day about all the cool things that Enteractive does for different iGaming clients all around the world and in different markets. But this is not a B2B pitch. So the second of all is introduce the role before they start talking about themselves. And the reason behind this is that they will answer more dedicated questions that you will have once they hear what you are looking for. So again, it's kind of like that Spider-Man meme of, what's the salary? What do you want? Stuff like that. But that second point is talk to them about the role, because at that point, they might go, actually, no, I'm not interested in this. It's not for me. Then you haven't wasted your time. Then at the end, you talk about who you are, and then they drop out and they ghost you and never talk to you again. So third of all is ask them to talk through their experience. Now, this could be dedicated standardized questions, or it could be scenario-based questions that the hiring manager has asked you to ask. And normally when I'm sat down with a hiring manager, I would say, what are the 3 questions that you would ask, and what are the 3 answers to those 3 questions? If they said this, you would immediately hire them. If you said this, it's a maybe. If they said this, it's a no. So I can do that and save my hiring managers time. 4 questions at the end. Again, like I said earlier, make this a conversation, not an interrogation. I hate interviews. I hate interviewing myself. I just hate it. Because believe it or not, I'm not an extroverted person. Kind of like a mask that I put on them. Okay, so tailor the interview. So ask the candidate on how they prefer to be interviewed. And this is within reason. Of course, if they're based in Malaysia and you're based in Malta, you can't exactly fly them out for a first stage interview. Not that. But ask how they want to be interviewed. And when I talk about that, I actually mean, okay, would you prefer it face-to-face? Would you prefer a phone call? Would you prefer Google Meet, Zoom, or whatever other media? And then also, would you prefer a live technical assessment, or would you prefer a take-home technical assessment? Now, the last 2 about the live technical assessment and the take-home one is a little bit difficult because, Jenny spoke about ChatGPT and, stuff like that. They can fix the formulas for you. So I will always go live. But, give them. This creates a subtle bond between you as the business and them as the candidate to be absolutely flexible to their demands. And the third column is hiring manager, prepped and ready. So the hiring manager needs to be prepped and ready. This is purely based on two things. One, knowing the candidate and their experience. Two, which is selling the business as well. So like I said earlier, you'll get these hiring managers who are great software developers, like really awesome, the best copy and pasters in the world, like amazing, yeah? But they don't know how to sell the business. And the thing is, they don't know what they don't know. So as recruiters or as HR people, you need to advise your hiring managers, your team managers, to sell the business. This comes from two things, employee branding and personal branding as well. And you can teach them about it. If you want to know more, then message me on LinkedIn. I'll sell you a course. No, I'm kidding. I'll give you it for free. So yeah, knowing the candidate, which is all about the tech spec of what you put on the ATS, plus their CV, and also plus your advice as a TA person. What I tend to do is I put my advice and then list okay, when you bring them to interview, you should ask more about this, and here's the reason why. That makes you more as a trusted partner as a recruiter. And then, of course, yeah, selling the business. Offer stage, right. Okay, now granted, if the recruiter has done right, maybe, you've already pre-closed them. And pre-close them on the salary, and you've used social selling to kind of do it. Normally, my spiel is, hypothetically, Mr. or Mrs. Candidate, if we were to offer you this amount of money, would you accept? And they go, yeah. Or they go, no, actually, I'm looking for this. And then you can take that information back to your HR team, finance team. So once you've already pre-closed them, then you give them a call a day later, hey, quick one, it's not good news. We'd actually like to make you an offer, and it's this amount, such and such. So you've already pre-closed them, they're excited because they are ready to receive an offer. Then when you officially make an offer, it creates such a blend for them. But be careful with the language, because some people might think, whoa, I'm getting an offer. They hand in their notice, and then you're fucked, pretty much. Okay, so in my opinion, the recruiter should be present to make the offer. As recruiters, we are dodgy salesmen. We are. It just is. We're selling people in a weird way. I was going to mention a joke, but I'll probably get banned. Okay. So you made them an offer. They've accepted. All is happy, right? No. Because counter offers happens and, well, put it this way. If you're a car salesman, the car doesn't go home to its partner and decide that it doesn't want to be sold to a customer. Whereas humans, they have a thing called free will. Crazy, right? So they might turn around and go, actually, no, I don't want to join your business, and here are my reasons why. Or they don't tell you the reasons why. Maybe that's it. So keep them engaged. So on the offer call, when you're offering them, you need to keep them engaged. So on that first screening call, you ask for pain points. Why are you applying for this position today? Or what's the situation in your current business that you're having this conversation with me today? Oh, well, there's no development, or I'm underpaid and stuff like that. When you go to the offer, you can keep those pain points and resell it back to them as well. So it might be that, oh, I have to be in the office 7 days a week. I'm crazy, it might be, I don't know. They might be in the office a certain amount of time, they want remote working. And if you can provide or facilitate that, you can use that as a reselling point to their pain points. So when you make the offer and say, oh, by the way, we have this and we have this, and you mentioned on that first call that you're not developing, well, we have this personal development plan with mentors and coaches in the business, then they're already pre-sold and they're really happy about it. So keep the pain points from the first call and reassure them, and keep selling the business. And I've added a little, I think it's meant to be a post-it note, but I don't actually know. It looks like a weird building in London. They may have more offers on the table. So how do you be competitive? If the salary is the same for both roles, one is paying 50K, the other is paying 50K, but one of them has a sports package, and when you talk to them, you figured out that they're a sporty person, lo and behold, they might go to that business because they have a sports package. Something really small like that will either make or break your offer process. So, second all, before their first day, they've accepted, happy to join, don't leave them in the dark. Most recruiters make this mistake of, as soon as they've made an offer, it's with HR to do all the contracts, and it's like, woo, yeah, done, on to the next role. Don't do that. Don't leave them in the dark. Ping them an email, drop them a text, or call them. So normally in my Google Calendar, I will have If it's an offer and they have a month's notice, I will call them maybe a couple of days after I've made the offer and they've accepted. I'll drop them a text, then a LinkedIn message, an email saying that we're excited, blah, 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 blah. And this is to keep them engaged as much as possible, okay? Keep them engaged and excited, but keep selling the business, I think. And whilst you're doing that as well, ask them how they want to be onboarded. So on their first day, it's not your first day, it's theirs. So you need to kind of be flexible for when they're starting as well. What do they want to do on their first starting date as well? Like I said before, it might be, I need to meet this person, I need to meet this person. And you think, but you're not in that business unit. Why would you need to do that? No. They're the experts. You're not. So speak to them, ask them who they want to see, who they want to meet with, and how they want to be onboarded. So tailor-make their first day according to what they want to do. And if they don't know, give them some options. Well, actually, when we hired such and such in your team, he did this, or she did this, and you can give them options. So who do they need to meet? Then the last one is a 2-week catch-up. So the first month is extremely scary. So new people, new processes, new products. HR is like hassling them with like onboarding surveys, and I'm just really confused. They're going to be scared, so reassure them. And have an open and honest conversation with them and cancel out any negative thoughts from the get-go. Like I said before, between day 0 or day 1, up until about day 20, that's like the pressure zone. Have I made the right decision in joining this business? Should I have accepted that counter offer? Or should I have accepted that other role that offered me more things which are in line with what I wanted? So if you get that from the get-go and ensure that their onboarding process is as fun and engaging to them as possible, then you probably won't have any dropouts. Probably. Allegedly, again, don't take my word for it. Top right there, it's not done until they're in the business and happy. And happiness might take 3 months, it might take 6 months. But once they are there, then they'll be loyal employees to you. Well done. You've done it. You've successfully attracted, acquired, onboarded, and retained your talent. Amazing work, right? Until someone like me comes along and takes them. Because I do this whole presentation, right? So keep retaining your talent, or a bold British man, I am bold, by the way, I'm wearing a hat, we'll take them, okay? So now I will gladly shut up, and I will take a seat, and I will drink some water, because my throat is clammy. And I will have any questions from the audience. Like I said before, I will be as open and honest as possible. You will get the answer that you will need, but possibly do not want. So just keep that in mind, okay? So any questions? Anyone wants to be scary and be the first one? Oh, we have a question at the back. Go ahead. Can we have a microphone? Sorry, I'm really deaf. Just. Well, I've explained it. Okay. Okay, so I'll talk to you about it. So psychometric tests, for me, pigeonhole people and put people in boxes, because HR will. Well, this is probably the worst place to sit. Let me move this, and I will answer your question. So when we talk about psychometric tests, and the reason why I don't like them, and the reason why I don't think that they work, is that they pigeonhole people and they put them in boxes. So if you have there is a specific one with coloured personalities, something like that, like a yellow, red, you're a driver, stuff like that. Normally, hiring managers will see that and they will have a certain bias towards that. If they didn't read that about the candidate and they just had that interview, they would possibly move them in a different colour or a different personality type. So psychometric tests are a little bit flawed when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're putting people in boxes, and they should be able to express themselves through words or their work, not through a 10-question psychometric test or survey. Again, this is my opinion. This is what works for me. It might not. It might work really well for you. I don't know, but you can follow up as well.
I think when I think of psychometric tests, I have a different definition than you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Validated and reliable. So in some cases, let's say for higher level hiring, I think it just gives you an insight towards the person.
I agree.
Rather than a definite choosing factor. So
yeah.
you're more like, oh, I understand that way. So I don't think it's that kind of cut-off point
No, absolutely not.
for seeing a general map towards
Yeah.
the person.
Sure. I mean, for me, I wouldn't use them for interviewing. I would use them once they're in the business, so I would understand it. So that's my hate for psychometric tests. It's not them in total. It's using them as part of your selection process, which I think is a little bit redundant. Once they're in the business and you want to see how they train and how they be a manager and their personality type, that's absolutely fine. So that would be my answer. But thank you so much. Any more questions? I'll take you at the front.
What's the best piece of advice you could give as an internal recruiter to an external recruiter?
Tell them to fuck off. No, I'm kidding. An internal recruiter to an external recruiter. External recruiters are worth their weight in gold. Like me as an internal recruiter, I don't have this egotistical brain to say that I'm never going to use them because I'm amazing. I'm not, and I don't know all the answers. So sometimes external recruiters are absolutely fine. So you're saying from an internal to an external. Immediately, I would just be nice to them. You know, they're just doing their job. It's sales, it's BD. They want work from you, so just be nice to them. Because who knows, they might be head of TA in 5 years' time, and if you have a LinkedIn message telling them to quite brutally fuck off and don't work with me anymore, then you might have dug yourself in a little bit of a hole, for example. So just be nice. Be nice to people. Yeah? That's my answer. Any more? I'll take you, and I'll come back to you in the back. Okay, yeah.
So which is your favorite ATS?
Favorite ATS, Team Taylor, all the way. All the way. It has analytics, it has CRM and email marketing. It makes it easier workflow. And what I want to get across about my favorite ATS is that it's easier for non-recruiters to use. This is the most amazing thing in the world. You can use Lever, you can use Bamboo HR as an ATS if you really wanted to, but it's very difficult for a hiring manager to use it. And you've got to think that these guys, these hiring managers, they're not recruiters. They don't know how to use an ATS, and they probably don't have time to listen to you train them. So Team Taylor is like a glorified Trello board. It's really easy. I leave my notes, I leave my reviews, that's it, done. Really simple. And the hiring manager can see all the process that you're doing, so they know how busy that you are, rather than emailing you and saying, where's this candidate? You know, where's this? Why have we not hired them yet? Stuff like that. They can see it, physically see it. So that'd be my answer. There are other ones that I've used that are great, but Team Taylor is more cost effective and for me the best one. Hope that answers your question. Take you at the back because you had your hand up. Slightly.
Cool. How do you feel about challenges and assessments for non-technical roles, like scenario-based challenges, for example? And would you use it as like a selection tool at the end of the process, or more of like a filtering tool, smaller kind of challenge in the beginning as a filtering tool?
Okay, for like non-tech roles, for example.
Yeah.
I would use them, but it completely depends on the role. If you're looking for a salesy person, then you got to ask them about their rejections, and you got to ask questions about their overcome negative feedback from a potential client, or different questions like that. Using them as an assessment, yeah, I kind of would use them a little bit at the beginning of the process, but not so much if it's for like a marketing role, let's say. Because marketing role, I purely just want to see portfolio. If it's a graphic designer, I purely want to see portfolio. If it's for sales, then I kind of want to see track record and what businesses they've worked with and what clients they've worked with. But a generic role, like a customer support, yeah, it would kind of make sense. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries. Any more questions? One at the front. How do you change the mentality of a hiring manager? Ooh. All right. Okay. So I have this thing called, and I say this, there's 2 hiring managers of mine in the business, and I'm directly trying not to give them eye contact because they'll know my techniques. They're at the back. Okay, so what I would do with my hiring managers, if they're being difficult, is I would create something called FUD, which if you've ever heard it in sales, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So for example, if they're not responding to you in a timely manner, or they're not interviewing in a correct way, I'll just say, well, looks like you don't need the role. Looks like you don't need this sales role. You won't hit your budgets. You won't hit your targets. You won't get your bonus. You'll probably get fired. I won't say that last part, but that's just what I'm thinking. And you've got to create fear and uncertainty and doubt for them to get them on your side. Because you've got to think, these guys are not recruiters. They are not HR. They are part of the business. So they don't know what they don't know. So you need to tell them how they can be fearful for their jobs a little bit. So I would, to answer your question, I would create fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And if they're still not working and cooperating with you, then you just need to tell them, says, look, I will not work on this role if you don't work on me. And then that will create this, then that will snowball into this, that will then do this. And then lo and behold, they come back to you because it's really desperate and they should have hired this person ages ago, saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. So that would be my answer. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You get them on your side. You can kind of groom is the wrong word, but I don't mean to use that word, but groom them into, mold them into the hiring manager that you want them to be. So I hope that answers your question. Any more? One right there. You can wait for the microphone because I'm really deaf. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm hiring manager, by the way, not recruiter.
Sorry.
So you mentioned about culture cards. Can
Yes.
you tell a little bit more? What do you mean by culture cards and why are they much better than scorecards?
Okay, so scorecards is generally of, I'm trying to think the best way to describe it. So scorecards, which I've used in the past, is they have to reach these certain parameters. They have to be like at least 6 out of 10 to be worthy of the next stage interview. For me, I think that's just the wrong way of doing it, because what happens if they just miss out on 1 point? Oh, you'll probably interview them if they just miss them out on 1 point. Where's the line where you stop interviewing people? So the way I want to introduce culture cards is, does this person have a positive effect on the business? And do they get along with the hiring manager? Or would they get along with the hiring manager? So as recruiters, we can kind of see personalities and see how they would fit. Now, this goes back to my question. Sorry, again, psychometric test. But if you have a psychometric test, they're looking for a similar personality to who they are. Whereas what you need to say is, and when you're selling a candidate to the hiring manager, let's say, is, I believe that this person would be a good fit because they're data-orientated, or something like that. If you're looking for a salesperson and they're data-orientated, they want to clean data and make sure the rest of the sales guys are amazing, then that's a good addition to the team. Stuff like that. So culture cards, so bin the scorecards, name them culture cards, and score them on what is going to positively impact the business, not your values. Because the values of the business will change over years. And most businesses keep the same values for 5 to 7 years. And they say, oh, does this person, impact, this culture fit, right? And it doesn't work anymore. So you need to measure them on an individual basis, not against company values. So that's my opinion. Again, disclaimer, you don't have to agree with it, okay?
Thank you.
Any more for any more? Please feel free. No? One there, go ahead. You can.
Talk about talent attraction and how GitHub Reddit could be beneficial, right? How would you apply that model to high volume hiring, right? Because it is time consuming.
Sure. So instead of using Reddit, GitHub, LinkedIn, because these high volume people, and I'm assuming that you're talking about maybe customer support or stuff like that, then figure out where they hide, which is Facebook groups, or Instagram posts, or I'm not a big TikTok user, but maybe TikTok. I've had a great success from that. So you've got to find out where these people hide. And the only way that you can do that is ask your existing people, where did you see us? Like, what job boards did you see us from? Where did you apply? Who told you about it? Stuff like that. So for techies, yeah, it makes sense. GitHub is kind of like a safe haven for them. But for, customer support and these high volume roles, then typically I would ask the people, where did you find the role? Because it might be a specific job board which you don't put money into, but you have actually more success from it. So figure out where these people hide and then target them on that. It could be Facebook, it could be Reddit, I don't know. It could be any different social media. So find out where they hide and then attack them, might be the right word, from there. That would be my advice. Yes? Personalized feedback. Okay, so this is very difficult. I only really give personalized feedback once they've had a conversation with me or the rest of my TA team. If they don't, then it's a generic rejection. It is what it is, But as soon as they take time out of their day, they've stopped playing with their cats, they've gone out of a meeting just to have this, they've taken a phone call in the car. As soon as they take time out of their day to speak to you, the respectful thing to do is to give them dedicated feedback. Now, how do you do this? and it goes back to the hiring manager relationship, which is creating fear and uncertainty and doubt. If you don't give me feedback, then this person, once they become a head of sales and you're not a head of sales, they won't hire you. So you've got to give them a personalized feedback as well. So that would be my advice, if that makes sense. Yeah, okay. Any more questions? Again, I'm avoiding eye contact from my my C-suite in the corner there. We'll take this one here, yeah.
Do you have any tips or anything like that to kind of eliminate or deal with bias in recruitment?
With bias? I will probably be a whistleblower and say that it is physically impossible to get rid of bias. Like, you can try these, unconscious bias trainings and stuff like that, but as humans, we're inherently biased of things, and this comes from our personal experiences and what we think of other people, what we think of software engineers like me, for example, stuff like that. So it's almost impossible to get rid of internal biases. You can do training on it, and sometimes that does work, but you just need to speak to your hiring managers and say, look, this person is good because of this. And you kind of spin that bias as a recruiter's perspective and kind of turn it on their head. I think that this person is good because of this. However, you need to ask them questions about this little bit of experience that I didn't get around time to ask for. So use bias in your favor as a recruiter, that's great. But to completely get rid of it, I'm sorry, but I think it's physically impossible to get rid of biases. It is what it is. I try to be as open-minded as possible, but I still have internal biases that I'm aware about. But you can only do a certain amount of training, then it's kind of redundant after that point. It's like a 15 euro steak to a 100 euro steak. Really, what's the difference? That's my advice. Hope that answers your question. Any more? I saw another question. I see one.
Hi.
Yes.
How would you deal with hiring managers who seem to have extremely high expectations or who seem to be extremely indecisive in the candidate that they're looking for?
Okay, so high expectations. This is a really good one. And it goes back to that unicorn saying, you have more chance of winning the lottery than finding a perfect person in the world. Because like your mother or father will have told you, nobody's perfect, right? So the best way that I do this is on a LinkedIn search when I'm specifically looking for a key skill set is put in exactly what they wanted and show them the back end of LinkedIn Recruiter, because they're not a recruiter. They don't know what you do every day. They just think you put an ad on a job board, then all of a sudden you have 10 CVs and then you just choose the best one. It's not the case. So you need to show them exactly what you do. So normally what I would do is, if I'm looking for a specific skill set, is go on LinkedIn Recruiter, show them the back end of it, type every little bit of detail that they want. I want them to be Harvard educated. I want them to have a master's. I want them to be a PhD in data science, even though they're going for a customer support role, something like that, right? Type all that in, and I guarantee the search and the net will be lower. And then as soon as they see that, they're like, oh, this perfect person doesn't exist, crazy. Then you can kind of navigate and bring those keywords out of it, and your net will be wider. And if you go through certain profiles that immediately from what the hiring manager has said wouldn't be a good fit, and then as soon as they see it, they're like, oh, actually, this person looks pretty good. So, and then you can kind of use that as a benchmark to then find other people. And then you had another point to that question, and I've forgotten it.
If they're being extremely indecisive as well. So if I have, for example, 3 good candidates that we've shortlisted, however, they can't decide, or maybe they keep on changing their mind on the requirements.
Okay, so this has happened before, and I just say, well, if you can't decide right now, all of them is a no. All of them. I'll just jump to reject them right now. I'll press a button. They're gone. Let's keep candidate experience good. Then all of a sudden, like, no, wait. This person was probably the best, So again, it comes to that fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So if you're ever in a situation like this, and they say, oh, I'm not sure about this candidate, maybe this candidate, if they're not sure, or if it's a maybe, then it's a no. And as soon as you say that, they'll claw back, because they already have the fear, uncertainty, and doubt about if they don't hire this person, then this doesn't lead to their objectives. Then they will come back to you and actually say, look, I like this one better because of these reasons. As humans, we're just naturally, they want to be nice to people. So it's like really bad rejecting someone, we feel very uncomfortable. It's like people, if you're like on the dating scene and you try and like go up to someone and they go, oh, I have a girlfriend, I have a boyfriend or whatever, when they probably don't. It's an easy rejection because it's trying to be nice to them. So that's what hiring managers do. They try and be nice to the people and say, oh, maybe. Maybe it's not good enough. So it's a no. Then as soon as you say that, they claw back and they're like, actually, this person's really good. So that's my advice. Any more questions? What time are we on, actually? Am I over? No, I've still got a bit. Any more questions? Please feel free. No? One there, yeah.
So if you have culture cards,
Yes.
don't like psychometric tests, what is a good way to assess culture?
A good way to assess culture?
At scale.
At scale?
Yeah.
So you could do surveys, you know. Surveys are okay, but engagement on surveys is not that good because most people, if you think about when you were in your first customer support role or something like that, you got a survey, you were like, ugh, 10, you know. And it's like, as HR, we're like, oh, everyone's really happy. Wow, this is amazing, when it's not accurate. So what I would do as a HR person or TA person is get really embedded with the culture itself from like a really physical, not a physical point of view, because that's a bad word, but like a face-to-face point of view. So if what I do is, because I'm very nosy, is if I see a certain team having dinner or like breakfast together in the office, I'll just go and sit and join them and get to know who they are and get to know their culture and, okay, what is going to be a good fit for this team and what skill gaps are they missing and what is needed for that team. And then likewise, I'll go to the marketing team and likewise, I'll go to B2B, for example, or something like that. Like my nose is everywhere. A really bad term, but yeah, that'd be my answer. So culture cards, yeah, cool. Psychometric tests, once they're in the business, not for assessment, but just get to know your people. It takes 10 minutes out of your day and then you fully understand the culture of a specific team or business. That's my advice. Hope that answers your question. Any more questions? No? Anything? No? I might ask my C-suite if they want to ask any questions. No? All good? Okay, fine. All answered, yeah. These guys are B2B, so if you're an operator or provider or anything, go speak to them. We do awesome stuff. So, yeah. Right, okay, cheers. Thanks. Appreciate it.